Hey guys, and welcome to part 3 to what if Naruto died in wave and went back in time and became female. If you just want to know what happened in the last part, then there will be a link in the description down below, or you can watch this one all over until the end, where then there will be a link on the end screen cards. And with that, let's get into this. So, because the next day Naruto would go off to the Hokage's office to take her sort of photo, though she would sort of wear a bit of makeup to hide her whisk marks and that. And yeah, of course, after taking the picture and that and going down and giving it to Hizen would notice that she wasn't wearing a Hittite, and well, she'd stay the same thing like in canon. And after a bit of back and forth talking, because Kanamaru would end up, kind of interrupting and, doing his thing. To which Naruto would proceed to respond like in canon, knocking him out and leaving. And from there, canon would be, or at least kind of that, day's events would kind of go like in canon with our teaching Kanamaru, eventually the, sexy jutsu and that, and as kind of why not? It was a way to teach him the transformation jutsu after all. And from there, somewhat the of course next day, would come and she'd be in class. Though though as of course time would go by and Iruka would finally come in, and the sort their team, or at least, Sakura, because, once Team 7, was announced, and, Sakura would be, kind of annoyed she'd be put on, a team with Naruto, but then she'd someone, cheer when she'd hear, Sasuke was on their team, and Naruto would just allow a groan, as I sort of ironically Naruto would somewhat hope that now kind of being a gal, maybe you could try and, or at least kind of somewhat slightly resonate with Sakura, or just get to know Sakura, before becoming, Team 7. But that kind of didn't happen, and instead the kind of drilled an even somehow managed to drill an even bigger gap or hole between them. And yeah, so it was pretty much already starting off in a worse state than what Team 7 originally was in. And yeah, of course, though, somewhat or at least, up in, yeah, of course, from there she'd go have a lunch and that, and once everyone was back together, and once, because someone, 3 hours later, once Kakashi would arrive, the, same scene would play out with, someone, whiteboard eraser, blackboard eraser would, fall on his head, as, when she'd still, sure, she wouldn't do as many pranks, but she'd still do pranks, and, this was just an opportunity, if given the opportunity, she was going to do a prank, plus, it was harmless. And, yeah, anyway, from there, they would, go up to the rooftop, and Sasuke and Sakura's one would be pretty much the same, if not Sakura being a bit more kind of hateful towards Naruto, as of course she'd not only see him now, or at least not only, find Naruto maybe annoying or that, but also a bit of, a rival for similarly Sasuke's love, which would be kind of stupid, as Naruto at this point in time just didn't have any feelings for really anyone besides from, Aime and Tutu, who she saw as, something, a kind of, grand, well, probably, kind of like, a grandfather, or, not really sure how she sees Tucci, but Aime, but, she'd see Aime as a sister, and Tucci potentially, maybe as a, father figure, potentially. And, yeah, anyway, besides from something like that, well, yeah, of course, Owen, of course, would be different. I should state that, she'd kind of likes to, train and kind of experiment. but she wouldn't explain anything more of, experiment, just she'd like to experiment. Because that both being, with chakra and cooking. And she'd, state that, she'd hated people who kind of, judged, somewhat judged her. Judges her before they get to know her, aka kind of hinting at the Nine Tails. And, just something, and how other people, look down on Konoichi. And that, though she could understand why, a lot of men, look down on Konoichi, because people like Sakura who, are just in it because their crush is doing it, and well, if they become a good Konoichi, maybe they could get their crush. Yeah, just stupid, pretty much. Anyway, and, well, yeah. Though Kakashi would, of course, be somewhat, interested more so on kind of Naruto than Sasuke and or Sakura. As, of course, a similar talk would happen between Hiruzen and Kakashi, kind of like in canon, where, Kakashi, stated that, he understood why, Naruto and Sasuke, he had those and that they were kind of special, but Sakura was just seemingly, ordinary. And, yeah, though Hiruzen had told, also, or at least had told Kakashi as well to do not underestimate Naruto, and that the Sakuni does, and puts them in the same kind of league as maybe Sasuke, and, and the Sakuni puts, Naruto in the same, strength category as either Sasuke or Sakura, would be his kind of downfall, or that. He was kind of confused at that, as of course Hiruzen knew Naruto, somewhat, could manipulate lightning, and had, had done probably, tree and water walking, and was, knew some level. It wasn't 100% sure what she knew of medical ninjutsu, but he did know that she, or at least, had been trained by medic nins. To what degree, he wasn't too sure, but he did know that she was trained in some level of medical, probably, like chakra control, and not really jutsu, though she was trained in, both. And, yeah, though she was still training in the chakra control aspect, as that was the hardest thing, once she was on the last chakra control exercise that the medic nin, knew of. For her, of course, the only other person that would then be able to help her would, of course, be Tsunade herself, as Tsunade has got perfect chakra control. And, yeah, anyway. So, yeah, though from there, of course, Kakashi, would perceive, tell them that they're not actually, gaining yet, and, pretty much lacking canon, and they would, Sasuke and Sakura would be shocked, and Naruto would kind of pretend to be shocked. Or that, as she'd already know this, she knew this 2 years, pretty much. 2 years and 1 month ago, when she was, well, not even a female, but male, and yeah, and so from there, she would, at least, from there, the next day would come, and she'd be kind of somewhat, or at least she'd be kind of sitting in a somewhat kind of living room, as she'd already kind of wasted somewhat an hour, and had kind of finished up breakfast and all that, and she had about 2 hours, somewhat to go before Kakashi would arrive at Training Ground 7, and yeah, she'd just kind of sit there, something, thinking about potentially using, something, lightning and earth manipulation, elemental manipulation, or elemental, jutsu to, kind of fight, go up against Kakashi, but more she thought about it, the more she didn't exactly kind of want to, as after all, there was still the possibility of failing, and then yeah, and sure, there was also a chance that she could, sort fail if she didn't show them, didn't show Kakashi. She still sort of hoped that, kind of the, events she's, had lived through would happen again, potentially maybe slightly different, but yeah. And, well, yeah. The adventure, she just kind of Sakura to kind of clear her thoughts, and, oh yeah. And so after a bit, she'd somewhat seemingly kind of start feeling warm and kind of slowly getting warmer when she'd somewhat kind of start getting some random thoughts, or at least somewhat provided thoughts, and after a bit she'd end up just going to a bedroom and would proceed to kind of play for herself with a dildo for the next hour. And after that, she'd come out, and by the time, at least, by the time she'd get to her kind of front door, she'd go from kind of being someone very shaky to kind of, well, someone being, wobbly on her sort of feet to being slightly less wobbly, and by the time she'd get to Triangle 7, that'd be about 5 minutes prior to Kakashi's arrival. And she'd, be like normal, no dude have, a clue that about, some 50 odd minute, 55 odd minutes ago, she'd, had, just finished, some playing with herself. Anyway, from there, of course, 5 minutes later, Kakashi would arrive, and from there, of course, you'd see, you'd look at the three, and you'd see, Sakura looked like, she was starving, Sasuke looked annoyed and, of course, hungry, and Naruto looked like she was ready for war, which, brought Kakashi some level, or at least kind of some level of, some kind of happiness that at least one Genin, well, not even Genin, just one academy student was taking this seriously, and the one Hiruzen had warned him about underestimating, and Kakashi could, or at least was kind of somewhat, somewhat wondering, what she could potentially do, and if she may show it here, he, of course, wasn't exactly sure, and Hiruzen hadn't told him what she could do. And, yeah, anyway. So from that, time would pass, and Sasuke and Naruto would be sitting kind of sort of either side of Sakura, as Sakura would be the one tied up, as, well, in this, sort of advanced Naruto wouldn't try to, go get the food, knowing that would lead with her being tied up, and not exactly wanting that. So would kind of avoid that, plus she, had went into that with a stomach of that, sunk. So she was now starting to get hungry again. Anyway. But she had breakfast, unlike Sasuke and Sakura, and yeah, and the only thing Sakura had done was get Sasuke out of the ground. Well, not even that. Sasuke had managed to get himself out of the ground. And yeah. And of course, because Sasuke and Naruto had, tried to have gotten the powers from him, Sakura didn't. He'd perceived to, type Sakura for doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. Except for, perceiving to, shout for, where, Sasuke was, revealing her, position and that. And, yeah, anyway. And so, after, that, of course, Sasuke and Naruto would, share their food with Sakura, and, Kakashi would arrive, and after, a bit of, show, we'd end up telling them that they passed. And, yeah. And, of course, from that, as Kakashi would start, walking away, Sasuke would, get up and go, and, follow him. Naruto would get up and would somewhat, and would perceive to kind of release, Sakura as, just, why not? And Sakura didn't even kind of say thanks or that, she just run after Sasuke, and yeah, Naruto just somewhat loud a sigh and shake her head and would just, go and follow. Well, he's go, and yeah, and from there, the month, a month would pass. During that month, Naruto had managed to convince Kakashi to teach Sasuke and Sakura how to do tree walking and water walking, though she hadn't shown, what she can do, yet. And, well, yeah, of course, Kakashi was starting to get, curious as to know why Hiruzen, had warned him, and, well, yeah. And whilst he had thought about asking Naruto straight up what she could, do, I decided that, there may be a reason why she was either hiding it or whatever. Anyway, though, because something, besides on that, they'd still only taken, 4 D ranks up until that point, and, well, yeah. Though she had slowly started to kind of, show more of her kind of self, and once she wasn't, smart, like, Sakura book smart or anything like that, she wasn't, stupid or that, like, canon Naruto, wasn't dense. And, yeah. Anyway, though, they would, be entering, the Hokage's office, or the mission office with, Tora, as they just, finished, capturing her. And after, Sakura goes, giving it to the Fire Daimyo's wife, and that Naruto would proceed to kind of ask Hiruzen if they could, get a harder mission. And, yeah, Hiruzen would kind of start and go, at least, and yeah, would go, or at least not, they would, have a kind of short conversation moving on to saying that she was somewhat new, and that, Joni, took A and potentially, B ranks, Chunin took B and C, and gaining, C and D, though mainly D ranks, and, but, she'd go, but, please, old man, surely we could at least have, simple, C rank, and we'd also kind of try and do the puppy dog eyes, and after a bit he would end up asking Kakashi and if he believed his team was ready for a D, a C rank, to which Kakashi was a bit surprised that Hiruzen was asking him this, and after a bit of thinking would nod and state that he believes his team is ready for the mission. And so from there, of course, Hiruzen would end up giving them the the land race mission, of course, times when they'd end up entering, and because Naruto would actually be somewhat taller than Sakura in this, time, was not only was she, eating, healthy, got some, well, yeah, she was eating healthier this time around, and of course, unlike Sakura, who was, starving herself, Naruto, wasn't, hasn't been, so she would grow a lot taller than Sakura. Not that much taller, but she would be bit, somewhat bit taller, and with the somewhat high heels on, she would seem somewhat a good bit taller. Anyway, though, from there, of course, the bridge builder would make a bit of fun on Sakura, and after, a bit of talking, they would end up, being dismissed and, packing, going to, pack for a month and that. And, of course, from there, somewhat as Naruto would, walk back, she would feel a heart pump. And, yeah. And, so, yeah, and she'd kind of wonder what she'd, because she'd been waiting for 2 whole years to get this freaking mission, and now she did. She could finally, go and see, what Wraith was actually, like after, dealing with, no brows and that. And yeah, and she'd somewhat think, and of course, doing her back, and she would get a bit horny and a bit perverted as she would somewhat think about, or at least, somewhat afterwards, once she'd, come back to Kona, that maybe she'd, kind of let herself, or at least, somewhat, kind of, go out and have, sex. It would be a third time doing so, as a second time was, or at least, somewhat after the, or at least somewhat once she'd become, an actual genin, after Kakashi had passed, that night she'd gone and done so. And yeah, anyway, so yeah, from there, after, or at least the next day, after sort of arriving that, and about 5 minutes later, 5 minutes later, Kakashi would arrive, and they would go and head off, and kind of initially, everything would kind of be, somewhat, the kind of the same for them, or, the conversation being, somewhat like in canon. And yeah, where it would, of course, start to change would be once, the, Demon Bros would simply arrive, and unlike, in canon, whereas, Naruto, freeze, of course, seeing Kakashi being, simply ripped apart in half, or at least, well, in thirds, being split 3 ways, would somewhat know that Kakashi was actually alive and had, used the Senshin, and yeah, and of course, from there, they would go and, would try and, change, would, go and try and, kill her, as the change would, bear down on her, and Sasuke, was, and, someone noticing that was, getting ready to, jump and throw kunai, as Naruto would momentarily let out a burst of, or at least wouldn't even let out a single, or at least burst to anyone, nobody would notice, but she'd let out a burst of magnetic, or at least of a magnetic field. This being something to align the, the chain's metal, the iron within the metal, to a specific, magnetic field polarity. In other words, of course, somewhat, she'd let out, a kind of north, somewhat magnetic field, so that would, which would line up with the chains being south and being drawn into, the, being brought into, which would also, of course, align the gauntlets on their arms. And from there, she then, of course, should then perceive to kind of change something, or at least should then produce a south, magnetic field, which would perceive to fling the change rapidly away from her, taking the Demon Bros with it, as the chain would perceive to glide into a tree, and would have a bit of a dent into the tree, because they'd Sasuke's Sakura, the pitch would be surprised as what the hell, did she just do? She didn't do nothing, to the chain, start to magically, start to kind of seemingly, accelerate a bit, faster, and then shot backwards, and she did nothing, just stand there. And, Kakashi himself would, be, of course, watching this, and was wondering as well, what did she do exactly? And yeah, from there she would grab a kunai, and should perceive to kind of, do the same thing. She'd make a small magnetic field, but kind of make the magnetic field kind of something small but dense to pretty much align, the entire, kunai, and would then sort of perceive to kind of launch it like a railgun, pretty much. And it would, go forward, and should have it aim, or at least somewhat aimed, so that the kunai would, of course, perceive to go, or at least somewhat the kunai would be, it'd be somewhat, in others, as the kunai would drive into the tree path leading to where the chain was, instead of, or at least, instead of being, horizontal with the two, parallel with the two, kind of chain links going, across. It'd be parallel. It would be parallel, not horizontal, to them, 9 degrees up. So as kunai, of course, at least, shot to the tree at high speed and that, it would perceive to drive it further into the tree, but also mark, the chain. It would cut into the metal chain itself, digging it, further, again, digging it further into the tree and making it overall harder to just yank it out. Because from there, they would, the two Demon Brothers would disconnect the chain and would perceive to run, forward. Sasuke would jump into action, would take him on, and she'd perceive to just stand there. And yeah, and as the Demon Brother would, kind of slowly bear down, far, coming closer and closer and closer. Eventually, it'd get close enough to where now it would kind of somewhat, do a more permanent, south magnetic field, which the, somewhat Demon Brother would, somewhat armored or something, he'd feel his arm being, somewhat, he could go forward more, but his arm couldn't, he'd be, stopped and he couldn't exactly reach it, so he'd pull out, a kunai, of course, start with, and he could feel, his weapons being drawn, towards her, so he'd pull out, kunai, and kind of smirk, and she'd see that, and would just kind of shrug, and would just, and so just as he was similarly about to kind of, or at least sort of throw it or that, she'd, turn the, magnetic field around. Thus, the gauntlet would then be drawn towards her, and the kunai would be ripped, and it's, the Demon Brother would perceive to, somewhat witness his hand, just as it would, go forward with the kunai being drawn forward, instead would be launched kind of backwards, letting go of the kunai, and said kunai narrowly, or at least the, his brother, his, the other Demon Brother would narrowly miss being, pretty much, kind of penetrated straight through with a kunai. And yeah, from there, so, as the, and as you'd see the gauntlet come towards her, she'd perceive to kind of flip from the magnetic field once more, but this time she just actually let kind of lightning chakra come coursing out of her, which would just increase our magnetic field. The magnetic field that she was generating would, of course, increase, would sort of increase inside, which would just pretty much would perceive to just see his hand just go snapping backwards, as he would just, someone couldn't help but yell out in pain, and would perceive to kind of be dragged, backwards, kind of almost through the air, and yeah, eventually you would be kind of, or at least it'd be, so it'd be shot back so fast that you would be kind of lifted up and off into the air, continuing to accelerate forward, and eventually you'd end up hitting a tree outside of a magnetic field, and you'd end up just dying on impact with so much speed and force. You'd just die instantly from the force of the impact. And yeah, of course, from there, Kakashi would perceive to, take out the other Demon Brother, knocking him out, and tying that one up, and he'd go, to where the other, someone was, and after checking, that the person was actually dead, would come back and would somewhat, and yeah, you wouldn't, think about asking now to, right this second, as they, there could be, more potential, around them or coming. Yeah, it'd be better to, get the, bridge builder, our client, to, his house before asking her what she did. And yeah, though, of course, Sasuke, Sakura, share that mentality, and Sasuke would perceive to almost demand, what the hell she'd done, to which she'd state that it wasn't, kind of none of his business what she'd, done. Or at least, how she, did what she did. Someone, And, of course, Sasuke would, now his Aizen would go to, try and, demand Genman. Sakura, would kind of, pipe up, to try, get Naruto to, teach Sasuke what she'd done. Though Kakashi would cut them both off and would just tell them to leave Naruto alone, as this wasn't the place to, ask. They were, after, there could be more enemies, around. This second and dumb arguing could give, the enemy the perfect time to take Hughes out. And yeah, Sasuke would just grunt and Sakura would slightly pale. And yeah. Anyway, though, from there, of course, the other Dean Brother would eventually wake up, and after, interrogating both the Dean Brother and the Bridge Builder, they would end up agreeing to continuing on with the mission. And yeah, of course, Kakashi was curious, from what he could see, it was lightning manipulation, but, it wasn't no lightning manipulation he'd seen before, and yeah, why was metal, flying towards and flying away from her? What was she, doing? And yeah, he wasn't, he'd probably be aware of magnetic release or whatever that is. But, that was more so to do with, sand manipulation and or, gold release, sand, what Garo can do, sand manipulation and or, gold release. Yeah, didn't think they were similar at all. Of course, some of them not. Anyway, though from there, of course, somewhat they would, arrive onto Rave. And yeah, though Kakashi would, or at least, doing that and walk towards, the boat and that, would end up telling Naruto that the Dean Brother that she'd sent flying had, died, that she had taken her first, life, and yeah, she didn't exactly know how to, feel, the person was, after all, coming for her life and the, bridge builder client's life, so she wasn't exactly sure how to, feel, and she kind of realised that she probably would end up feeling like this when she potentially killed, Nobrows to save Kakashi, and yeah. And so, yeah, of course they would, get on, they would get onto the boat, would, arrive on Wave, and as they would go, of course, what's his name, not Tazna, Zabzar would make his, appearance, and, of course, Kakashi would state, that he would, take Zabzar on, and he would wind up inside water prison. And yeah, Naruto just, feels as deja vu as he'd yell out, for them to just run away to the bridge builder, but she'd go, and she'd feel that, the same feeling she felt just, from what she'd decided on running away with, but instead, she was going to stand her ground this time. She knew if she ran away, she was probably just going to die all over again, and then what was the damn point of getting this second chance? She may not get a third chance, and yeah, so they somewhat taking in a few deep breaths to kind of somewhat slightly calm her somewhat nerves and to steel herself. She'd pull out a kunai, to which, because, Zabzar, would say, what you going to do, something, there's nothing you could do, something, with that, or whatever, trying to wind her up to it. She'd, she'd perceive to, produce a large, or at least would perceive to, let out, lightning, seemingly, doing lightning manipulation, and of course, she was starting to, she was manipulating the magnetic field, she was generating a magnetic field, and she was generating she was kind of focusing her magnetic, the magnetic field more so around the kunai, And once you could tell the kunai was fully magnetized, so it'd be the strongest, or at least strongest magnetic, or at least these, yeah. From there, should continue to just densify the magnetic field around the kunai more and more and more and more. Eventually, should flip it around, and the kunai would perceive to just kind of shoot forward at somewhat kind of decently high speed, taking Zabzar completely off by guard and somewhat, and yeah, of course, it would be directly aimed at his heart. And once he would manage to avoid the death blow, he would nevertheless still get a kunai right away through him, just instead in his gut, just kind of somewhat in his side, taking a somewhat a chunk, or at least a bit of his side out, leaving a kunai-sized hole right away through him as he had spun it, so it would kind of drill through him at the high speed. And yeah, of course, in a whole somewhat kind of go through him, because he wouldn't feel nothing. You'd see the hole, and yeah, he's and yeah, stuff would kind of start simply go slow motion as he could feel some of his feet start to get wet as he'd be falling under Kakashi. The warp prison would also dispel it and break. And yeah, of course, the kind of Haku couldn't believe what he was seeing. Seeing that kunai just pretty much ripped right away through him, and now he had a hole through him. He'd managed to avoid the killing, the killing blow, but he was now in the territory of them dying from just blood loss and that, and yeah, and Haku knew that. And Haku just immediately, goes. He knew this mission. He knew this mission was over. They weren't going to, continue. Haku knew, they weren't going to continue this mission now. And yeah, they would have to abandon it. So there was no way in hell, Zabzar was going to get better in a week. Maybe in, say in the next 2 to 3 years he may be good enough, but yeah. Plus that's even if he survives, which yeah, it depends on how quickly he could get Zabzar to someone who's neutral and could heal him, but overall Zabzar would end up dying too, somewhat at hands, as somewhat Haku, like Haku wouldn't even make it out of the land of rage before Zabzar would end up kind of dying, and yeah, though Haku would end up kind of coming to Team 7 and telling, or the pretend to be the thing, and would just tell them that simply Zabzar that Naruto that Zabzar had indeed died, and yeah, of course Richard somewhat meant, and of course Kakashi would be a bit kind of would be somewhat a bit unsure, as he had seen said Medicine to kind of rapidly take Zabzar's body away, so it would be kind of prepared to attack. Though in the would just state that always would point out to Kakashi that he'd soon believe it it's true once he gets the news, some book. And yeah, from there, Haku would know exactly what to do, and so would leave and would, potentially, think about, continuing on, on Zabzar's mission, or just dying, himself. He'd be kind of lost and would just be wandering about for a while. And anyway, of course, with Zabzar, with Zabzar dead now, the week would progress somewhat a lot easier. Though, of course, they'd still have, Gato to deal with, though. And so, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi would go, to the bridge, with Naruto somewhat, or at least opting to kind of stay back to, protect Inari and, and Tsunami, just in case something would happen. And yeah, and of course something would happen. The two, yeah, so in that, kind of the Inari thing with Naruto, that would kind of still happen with her kind of somewhat walking out, pissed off and that. And well, at least, yeah, that would happen, like in canon though, of course, for Naruto, this was all, new, so it'd still be, and yeah. Anyway, so, yeah, from there, of course, the two, thugs would come, Naruto would transform into, Tsunami, and they would proceed to kind of seemingly take her, or at least, for seemingly a bit, up to the point of where they would, and yeah, Naruto, was sort of his plan, to go all the way up until, somewhat, seemingly Gato himself, and then, release the transformation and kill Gato that way. But that kind of wouldn't end up happening, as they would perceive to, after walking a fair distance away, would perceive to try and kind of rape her, to which she'd perceive to kill, one of them, and would perceive to, or at least somewhat after, kind of, giving the person a very painful kind of somewhat torture, mainly somewhat using the chakra scalpel, though less as a scalpel, more as a blade, and carving, cutting into him. Eventually, the thug would end up telling, Naruto where they were going to seemingly take her, where Gato was waiting, and would just kill him. And from there, she'd produce two shadow clones, to which would perceive to, transform into the two thugs. She'd transform back into Tsunami, and they would perceive to carry on their way. And yeah, of course, from there, Zabzar, or not Zabzar, Gato would, go up, and, he'd perceive to kind of, he'd perceive to get their attention, and, and yeah, Kakashi would be surprised that, Tsunami, was kind of wondering, so, what had happened, to Naruto. Surely she could have, dealt with two thugs after all, or maybe, half of Gato's army actually went to, get them, and she'd just been simply overwhelmed, potentially. But of course, as Gato would speak in that, and as his concentration and, his entire army, aside from, Naruto's two, transformed clones, who are kind of somewhat behind, seemingly either side of her, Kakashi, so as, Tazuna would look on, kind of in a bit, shock and worry, Sakura, Sakura would kind of be a bit, kind of scared. Sasuke would simply, smack, some people, he could, try, he could, finally, prove himself or that against, Kakashi, seeing that, trying to, be calculating in that, perceived to see, two thugs that was just, around Tsunami, disappearing puffs of smoke, and Kakashi, and it would then kind of hit Kakashi somewhat like an anvil falling from the sky, that it was Naruto there, and that that Gato had sent 2 thugs after, Naruto had killed the 2, or at least one of them, tortured the other, then killed, most likely, and had then, come, like them, and, Naruto would then proceed to, dispel the, tsunami transformation, and would proceed to go to, or at least would proceed to turn to Gato, and would proceed to kill him. And, of course, the thugs, somewhat, or at least the thugs here, kind of gurgled momentarily, gurgled scream or that. I should make it somewhat, painful, not instant death. Near instant, within a few seconds, 5 or so seconds, though still had blood, curdling, blood cry, curdling cry. And, they would, turn around to just see, Naruto there, somewhat similar, hand, well, at least, somewhat a kind of similar green blade just through Gato, and Kakashi would kind of get, and Kakashi would just or at least would potentially barely be able to make out the, well, at least one, no, he wouldn't. Anyway, all that Kakashi knew was that Gato was now dead, and they now had one hell of a fight on their hands, and ironically, just as the, fight, or at least just as, they were about to charge at, either side of them, of course, a kunai would proceed to, dive into the ground as, tsunami, and that, with, the village, all the village would be there. And, yeah, of course, from there, they would, charge at, the equals, thugs, just, would go that there, more of them than there were, the shinobi and, villages and that, they could take them on, and, yeah, and to, somewhat, leave the, women as they could, rape them and maybe, make money off of them, later, and, yeah, so they would charge, and, well, Naruto, Kakashi would proceed to just start slaughtering them, the villagers, even, killing a few. And, yeah, Sasuke and Sakura would also, of course, get their hands bloody, but nobody would kind of, or at least somewhat, nobody would really kind of reach the, body count on somewhat that day that Kakashi and Naruto both had. With Naruto and Kakashi, Naruto and Kakashi both killing the most amount of people. And, yeah, from there, somewhat after, killing them all and that day, Kakashi would, do a, some water-style jutsu to clear the bridge, and, yeah, of course, from there, the, 3 weeks would go by as the bridge would be fully constructed, and they would leave with them, of course, not hearing it, but the bridge would be called the Great Naruto Bridge, for the person that had brought the hope back to the land of waves. And, yeah. And so once they would get back to, of course, Konoha, somewhat Hiruzen would kind of be somewhat looking, or at least would somewhat see them, and would just be, and would kind of somewhat look at them, or at least would look at Kakashi kind of with a look of, like, what on earth happened on, and or at least, but yeah, once they would arrive back, the 2 gate guards would see them and go, fighting Kami or something, alive, Kakashi would kind of go, what happened? Okage-sama wants to see something to you now, just me, no, yous. He wants to, see all of yous now, one of the gate guards would say. And, yeah, Kakashi would kind of be a bit, after all, it had been, kind of, it'd been practically a month since, Naruto had killed, Zabza, and, he'd believed that, Zabza had probably managed somehow to actually make it out alive, and the person was just lying. Unknown to him that the person was very much telling the truth, and that Naruto had indeed killed an A-rank shinobi, missing Nin, and had kind of wound up in the book itself. And yeah, and so they would jump from rooftop to rooftop as fast as potentially possible with Sakura, or at least going as as fast as Sakura could. And, once they'd arrive, somewhat Armbu or that Jonin or Armbu that they'd kind of start past, or that. They would arrive at the tower, and once they would walk in, or at least knock on the somewhat his, and at least then Armbu had of course told them once Team 7 had been spotted, had been in visual range, had told them that Team 7 had was back and all seemed to be alive. And so it was somewhat, of course, as Kakashi would knock on the door, he'd immediately hear a come in, and maybe someone the door would open, and Kakashi would open up the door and he'd walk in. Well, it's not even that, Armbu would be waiting outside actually. So as they would arrive, the Armbu would, one of the Armbu would simply open up the door, and though the Armbu just kind of somewhat look, somewhat at them, and kind of, wondering, and they would kind of wonder what was kind of going on, and they would somewhat enter, and some of the Armbu themselves can, believe, Naruto, Naruto of all people had managed to take out an A-rank, missing Nin. And, so, from there, somewhat Hiruzen would kind of somewhat look at them, and he would get up. Well, no, he wouldn't even get up. He'd just look at them and go, and he'd say, just thank God you're all alive. Kakashi would go, before Kakashi could even ask now to go, what's wrong, somewhat old man. Hiruzen would laugh away, somewhat sigh, and he would proceed to, give the for them a bingo book, as he'd tell them that this was a bingo book generally given to Chunin and Jonin and Armbu, and to and for them to flip to a specific page. They'd be confused until they would, and Kakashi, had managed to flip to the page first, and he'd kind of stand there in, shock, as it's, state, somewhat, name, Naruto, last name unknown, somewhat, rank, Genin, village, Konoha, and not necessarily, someone with, any bounty or anything like that, but just simply was just putting the book with a warning to not, come, to not, try and, attack this, some, female Genin, not to, take her lightly. And as it say, for, tuning that to, pretty much it would have a, you know, somewhat rank, you know, tuning to potentially flee on sight, and even, you know, some, you know, somewhat Jonin, or at least, you know, newly minted Jonin to just run. That unless it was, you know, a high ranking Jonin, if not S rank or Kage level, to potentially try and take her on, otherwise just run. And somewhat, you know, seeing that, you know, Kakashi, you know, couldn't help but have a flashback to kind of, you know, Minato, and, you know, reading, you know, kind of, you know, being a bit, you know, Minato with the, you know, flee on sight warning to pretty much all ranks except for Kage, and potentially, you know, S rank, and yeah, and even that, you know, and even then it advised them to run, and this seemed similar. Just, you know, it wasn't advising, you know, it was advising, you know, higher rank Jonin to potentially flee, but to, you know, for you know, Kage and you know, S rank Shinobi to take her, you know, to, you know, somewhat be very, very damn cautious. And yeah, something how to itself couldn't, you know, something believe it. And or at least would kind of, you know, someone asked, you know, what it, you know, getting in this book meant anyway. To which he was going to say that, you know, the Bingo book is generally where some of the most dangerous, you know, shinobis, you know, sort are in, and that almost every shinobi, you know, something out that has a, you know, and or at least somewhat that pretty much almost every shinobi, you know, somewhat alive has an entry in there from the mission, you know, from missing nin to register from, you know, shinobi that are, you know, in Konoha, you know, or at least in the other villages. And yeah, and that you can be, you know, entered into somewhat, though granted, it'd state that most of the time, you know, most people will have a bounty, but there are, say, times like in your case where somewhat that it's more so in there as a more of a warning for others to, you know, not take you on lightly. And yeah, and that would kind of somewhat just nod, and yeah, though Kakashi would kind of somewhat look at his and would go, you know, somewhat, yeah, though his would kind of look at them and go, now, well, one of you tell me, you know, what on earth happened on your damn mission, you know, on that damn mission. It's Kakashi would go, right, well, you see Hokage-sama, of course, you know, sometime later, probably half an hour to an hour later, Husen would be kind of, you know, something there, you know, nodding, and yeah, of course, you know, when, you know, the, you know, thing come up initially, you know, about, you know, after killing the demon brother, you know, now to explain that, you know, what she'd actually done, you know, that she was using, or at least had, you know, I'd figured out how to, you know, generate a magnetic field, and that, and yeah, and that her lightning, you know, chakra was more like real life lightning or electricity than you know, normal seemingly shinobi lightning. In others, meaning that it was a lot more deadlier than normal chakra lightning. And yeah, and she'd stay, you know, she'd somewhat, yeah, and so, and, well, yeah, anyway, and yeah, though, from there, though, Hiruzen would just tell them, or at least would tell Kakashi that it was about time he truly started, you know, training his team a lot more seriously, as there are potentially going to be, you know, even more, you know, stronger people coming after them. And yeah, Kakashi nod, and he would dismiss them, though he would tell Naruto that he would like to talk to her, you know, in private. You know, And yeah, she'd just nod and she'd state that she'd, just probably, be home. And yeah, from there they would leave, and once the door was shut, Kikash, or at least someone, Kikash would ask what, he was potentially going to do about Naruto, to which, he was going to state nothing for right now, and that, for now she would, stay, getting in, but, as, after all, somewhat, it was, like, somewhat, now that, everyone's going to be, a lot more aware, of, they're going to obviously, hopefully, be more cautious and that. And as such, but, yeah, for now she'd stay getting, but it all in all depends if you can get her overall abilities up to a tuning, then I'm gonna have to promote her to a tuning. After all, the only other person that's gotten, a warning for getting and tuning to, and even, some, joning to flee on sight, and other, high rank joning to be advised to flee instead of fight, was, Meantime himself, and that, was of course, for, up till Jonin to flee, and for Kage and S rank to, for an advisory on them to potentially flee. And, yeah. And, yeah. And so, they would talk for a while longer, and this is where I'm going to end this part here, guys. So, if you have enjoyed this part, do tell me in the comments down below, and of course, guys, have a good day or night, depending on wherever you are and whenever you watch this, and good bye.